Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to another video. And today I'm going to be doing my Jane Austen July TBR and talking about my reading plans for the next month. So, July, if you don't know, is Jane Austen July for me. This is a readathon that I host every year along with Marissa from Blatantly Bookish and Claudia from Spencer's Library. I really enjoy taking part in Jane Austen July every year, and I have many plans for this year, many things I want to read. I only realised how ambitious my TBR was when I tried to hold up all the books I want to read in a stack. So I will see how I go. I'm almost definitely not going to get through all of these, but I will get through some of them and I'm looking forward to them. If you'd like more information about Jane Austen July, I'll leave our announcement videos down below, but today I'm just going to go through the challenges and what I'm planning to read for each one. So the first challenge for Jane Austen July every year is to read one of Jane Austen's main 6 novels, and the group read this year is Mansfield Park, which I'm really looking forward to rereading. This is a real favourite Jane Austen of mine. I'm going to be listening to this in audiobook, the audiobook narrated by Frances Barber, which I've listened to a few times before and really enjoy. Mansfield Park is a wonderful novel about a girl called Fanny Price who gets sent to live with her wealthier relations, and about her experiences with that family. I just think Mansfield Park is wonderful. I know it's not everyone's favourite Jane Austen, but I think it's just superb. It's my second favourite Austen after Pride and Prejudice, and I love it a lot. I might read another Jane Austen during July. I will see how I go. I was vaguely thinking that I might reread Pride and Prejudice in July, just because I usually reread Pride and Prejudice every year, and I didn't reread it in 2025. So I feel like I should at some point reread it in 2026, and maybe that will be during July. I will see how I go. If I have time for it, I would love to reread it again, probably on audiobook. I listen to the Rosamund Pike audiobook a lot and love that one very much. So I may also get to Pride and Prejudice this July, but I'll see how I go. The second challenge for Jane Austen July is to read something by Jane Austen that is not one of her main 6 novels. I was thinking I might reread Lady Susan this year because I haven't read it for a few years and I love it very much. I have this very nice little edition here, but I was thinking I've never listened to Lady Susan on audiobook, so I might see if I can find an audiobook. I'm sure there's an audiobook out there somewhere with the letters read in different voices, because Lady Susan is an epistolary novella, and I feel like that would be a very fun thing to listen to. So maybe I'll do some research and find a good audiobook of Lady Susan. Let me know if you have any recommendations. But yeah, Lady Susan is a wonderful epistolary novella by Jane Austen, with a very scandalous main character, and I love it very much. The next challenge for Jane Austen July is to read a non-fiction work about Jane Austen or her time, and I have 4 possibilities for this, so I'm definitely not going to be reading all of these. 4 non-fiction books in 1 month will be a lot for me, but I do think all of these sound really interesting, so I'm hoping I'll get to some of these. So the first thing I know I definitely want to read in July is Encounters with Jane Austen, celebrating 250 years of Jane Austen, introduced by Jenny Batchelor. This is an anthology that came out last year, with various essays and interviews and some poetry and short stories and stuff, I think, just about Jane Austen and various people sharing their love of Jane Austen. I have an essay in here myself, and I really enjoyed going to the launch last year, and I just haven't got around to reading the whole thing, and I would really like to, so I'm definitely gonna prioritise this in July, and I'm really looking forward to it. And then I also would really like to read Love and Marriage in the Age of Jane Austen by Rory Moore. I wanted to read this last year and just didn't get around to it, but I read his book, Gentlemen of Uncertain Fortune, I guess 2 years ago, and loved it very much. I think Rory Moore is a wonderful historian who writes fantastically, and writes just the kind of history books I like, which have a really good mixture of primary source research and overview, and focus in on individuals as well as looking at the broader social stuff. So I think this would be a really interesting book about love and marriage in the age of Jane Austen. I am really looking forward to this one. I think it will be great. This is absolutely the kind of social history that I love, so I'm really excited for this one. Then I also have here Courting Disaster by Zoe McGee, the subtitle of which is Reading Between the Lines of the Regency Novel. I was sent a proof copy of this last year because I thought it sounded really interesting, and I'm looking forward to reading it. It is basically a book, an academic work of literary criticism looking at the way Regency and sort of late 18th, early 19th century novelists look at the issue of sexual consent. So McGee looks at Frances Burney, Jane Austen, and various other writers, and how those writers look at issues of sexual consent, and sort of how that issue is explored beneath the surface of novels from this time. So the back of the book says, with the wit and wryness of a courtship novel, McGee reads between the lines to unveil a quiet feminist movement that still resonates today, because every novel about marriage is also a novel about consent. And that sounds fascinating to me. I was thinking that this was like lower down my priority list than the other two, but actually this sounds really, really interesting. So I do really want to read this in July. Maybe I'm just going to have quite like a non-fiction heavy July. I don't know. I will see how I go. Then another book I got out from the library, as though I didn't have enough non-fiction to be reading, is this. This is Queer Georgians by Anthony Delany, the subtitle of which is A Hidden History of Lovers, Lawbreakers and Homemakers. And this is, you know, what it says on the tin, a history of queer Georgians. I just thought this sounded like a really, really interesting book. I'm really, really interested in queer history and obviously in Georgian history and Jane Austen's time, and I just feel like this will be really interesting. So whether or not I manage to get to this year, I don't know. I think the books I physically own are probably a priority over a library book, but I do think this sounds great. So maybe I just need to read a lot of non-fiction in July. The next challenge for Jane Austen July is to read a retelling of a Jane Austen book or a work of historical fiction set in Jane Austen's time. And I have quite a lot of options for this prompt. Again, I'm not going to be getting through all of these, but I'm really excited for all of them. First, I have two books by authors whose books I have loved in the past. I have The Elopement by Jill Hornby. I have loved her novels, Miss Austen and Godmersham Park, both of which are works of historical fiction set in the Regency period, following characters who have a connection to Jane Austen. So Miss Austen is about Jane Austen's sister Cassandra. Godmersham Park is set in the home of Jane Austen's brother Edward, and this book is also about people related to the family at Godmersham Park, and I just think this sounds really interesting. It's set in 1820, so after Jane Austen's death. I don't think Jane Austen's going to appear in this one unless she turns up in a flashback somewhere. It looks like Cassandra Austen appears in this one though, which is fun. It sounds like it's about a young woman who is in love with a man and everything seems to be going well, but there is some opposition to the marriage for some reason. And I assume they're going to end up eloping from the title, but I guess we will find out. And then I also have here Sophie Irwin's novel, How to Lose a Lord in 10 Days. I've really enjoyed Sophie Irwin's previous two books, A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting and A Lady's Guide to Scandal, especially A Lady's Guide to Scandal, and this is her newest one, which came out last year, and looks at a young woman called Lydia Hanworth, who is persuaded to accept the proposal of Lord Ashford, who she really doesn't want to marry, and she is trying to free herself from the engagement without ruining her reputation, and she has 10 days to do it. And I just think from the title itself, it's going to be very, very delightful. Another novel I'm very excited to read this Jane Austen July is The Unlikely Pursuit of Mary Bennet by Linz MacLeod. This is a Jane Austen retelling / sequel set in the Regency period, following the love story of Charlotte Lucas and Mary Bennet, and I think that sounds excellent. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I think this will be really fun. I think I might begin Jane Austen July with this actually, partly because I just think it'll be a really fun, relatively quick read, and also because I am hoping to make a video about all of the Pride and Prejudice retellings I have read, because there are quite a lot, and I feel like this would be a good one to mention in the video, so looking forward to this. Then I also have here 6 Weeks by the Sea by Paula Byrne. This is a proof copy, though this is out by now, and this is a novel by Paula Byrne whose non-fiction I have read before. I really recommend her non-fiction about Jane Austen, A Life in Small Things, and also The Genius of Jane Austen, both of which are fantastic. The first is a biography, the second is a work of literary criticism. They're both fantastic, but this is a novel by her looking at a sort of family rumoured love affair that Jane Austen had by the sea, and looking at that summer. I'm looking forward to this because I love Paula Byrne's non-fiction, but I'm also wary about how much I'm going to like this, because Miss Austen by Jill Hornby, which I mentioned earlier, also uses this like family myth about this seaside romance, and I love what Miss Austen does with that so much that I kind of feel like I'm going to read this and be like, but that's not what happened, that's not how Jill Hornby said it happened. And I know that's ridiculous because no one knows what happened, but also, am I going to read this and like just not love it because I love Miss Austen so much? I don't know, but I do think it will be a really fun read, and it is actually very short as well, so I think I should manage to get to this in Jane Austen July. Then I have two other books that would work for this prompt, which are slightly lower priorities for me, but I might try to get to. One is A Very Vexing Murder by Lucy Andrew, which is a murder mystery where the main character is Harriet Smith from Emma. I think it sounds like this is set like during Emma, but with a different take on Emma, and adding in a murder mystery to it. So I think this sounds quite fun. And considering how much I have enjoyed Claudia Gray's murder mystery series about the Austen world, I feel like I will probably enjoy this, which suddenly reminds me that I have another book for this prompt that I have forgotten to put on my TBR list because it's on audiobook. But I would also like this Jane Austen July to read The Rushworth Plot by Claudia Gray, which is where I'm up to in Claudia Gray's mystery series, following the son of characters from Pride and Prejudice and the daughter of characters from Northanger Abbey teaming up and solving murder mysteries. I love this series. I think it's really great fun. And The Rushworth Plot, I assume will have some connection to Mansfield Park, which I think will be really fun. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And I will probably listen to that on audiobook. So I definitely hope that I will manage to fit that in July. And then one other thing for this prompt, as if I didn't have enough already, I have this on my shelves. This is You Are Elizabeth Bennet, Create Your Own Jane Austen Adventure, which is a choose your own Austen adventure. I guess this won't take me very long because you don't necessarily like actually read it all the way through if you're choosing your own adventure, but I think this might be entertaining, so I guess I will do this at some point, probably like during a Jane Austen July vlog or for a video. Jack from Spread Bookjoy did a similar thing a few years ago, which I really enjoyed, so I will see how I go. Then the fifth prompt for Jane Austen July is to read a book by a contemporary of Jane Austen, so a book sort of from Jane Austen's time, and I have two picks for this. So one thing I will definitely be reading is A Sicilian Romance by Anne Radcliffe, which is a gothic historical novel by Anne Radcliffe, who I've read a few books from before and really enjoyed. This is July's pick for the historical fiction book club that I run over on my Patreon, so I'm really looking forward to reading that with other people in July. And if you would like to join in with that just for the month, you can sign up to Patreon for a month and then like leave again. That's absolutely fine. So you know, I will leave links to Patreon down below if anyone's interested, but I think it'll be really fun to read A Sicilian Romance, which is, yeah, from Jane Austen's time, but set before Jane Austen's time. And then the other thing I was thinking I might try and pick up again this Jane Austen July is Lover's Vows by Elizabeth Inchbald. This would be a reread for me. It's a play from the time period that I have read before, but it is the play that characters within Mansfield Park do an amateur dramatics production of, and I find it really interesting to look at the connections between Lover's Vows and Mansfield Park, and I have read Lover's Vows before, but I haven't ever made a video talking about the connections between Lover's Vows and Mansfield Park, and I thought that might be interesting, so I might try and reread Lover's Vows this year in order to make a video about it in relation to Mansfield Park at some point during the month. So those are the reading challenges for Jane Austen July, and those are my reading plans for July, but there are two watching challenges as well. The first is to watch a direct screen adaptation of a Jane Austen book, and I don't really know what I will watch for this year. There are a few new Jane Austen adaptations coming out later in the year. There's a new Pride and Prejudice and a new Sense and Sensibility coming up, which I'm excited for, but neither of them are out now, and I feel like there aren't any Austen adaptations that I'm excited to watch that I haven't already watched, so it will almost certainly be a rewatch. Maybe the film Love and Friendship, which I do really enjoy, or maybe if I have time, a mini-series. Two of my favourites would be the 2008 Sense and Sensibility and the 2009 Emma. So I don't know, I will see how I go. Then the final challenge number 7, is to watch something with a connection to Jane Austen that is not a direct adaptation, and I have two picks for this. My first pick is that I want to finish watching The Other Bennet Sister. I've been watching the adaptation of The Other Bennet Sister over the past few weeks, and I haven't quite finished it yet, and I would like to finish that in July. I am enjoying it. The book for me was probably a 4-star rather than a 5-star, and they've also made some changes between the book and the adaptation that I don't know how I feel about, but I am enjoying it, so would like to finish that. And then I will also be watching the Lucy Worsley documentary Behind Closed Doors, which is our group watch for this year, and I'm really looking forward to watching, and that's only very short, and I think it'll be very interesting, so looking forward to that too. There we go. Those are the things that I'm going to be reading and watching for Jane Austen July. Really looking forward to this Jane Austen July. I think it'll be really fun. Before I go, I'm going to do a really quick sound test. 1 second. Okay, so if you can't tell from my windblown hair, I've just put the fan on to see how loud it is when I'm filming. I'm looking at the weather forecast for the next few weeks in London, and it's meant to be like 30 degrees just all the time, and British houses are not built for 30-degree weather, so I am worried about it being really difficult to film over the next few weeks, so I thought I would filmed like 1 minute with my fan on and see whether or not you can still hear me speak. And if it's not unbearable, then I may have slightly less good quality sound in the next few videos, but like at least get some videos up. So yes, let me know how bad this end bit sounds. I will see as I'm editing it. So anyway, that is all for now. Do let me know what you're going to be reading for Jane Austen July if you're taking part. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.